pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Jason, a roll call, please.
Okay, Mr. Person,
Here.
Mr. McIrvin,
Here.
Ms. Perez,
Here.
Mr. Pavoni,
Here.
Mr. Corman,
Here.
and Mr. Prince.
Here.
Roll call, Mr. Mayor, all present.
Thank you. And the first thing on our agenda is three proclamations.
Okay, the first proclamation is the Mayor's Day of Concern for the Hungry, which is September 21st, 2019. Proclamation, whereas the City of Renton recognizes adequate nutrition as a basic goal for each citizen, and whereas no child should go to school hungry, no baby should be without feedings needed for mental and physical growth, no elderly person's health should be jeopardized by lack of appropriate foods, and whereas food bank, emergency, and hot meal programs working with the City of Renton, local faith communities, social service agencies, and hundreds of volunteers strive day in and day out to stem the rising tide of hunger, but still need more help. And whereas when winter approaches and low-income families must stretch their dollars to cover increasing fuel, electricity, and rental costs, leaving even less money for monthly food purchases, an outpouring of community assistance is needed. And whereas the Emergency Feeding Program coordinates an annual food drive, which will be held at grocery stores throughout King County on Saturday, September 21st, 2019, to help support the efforts of their program and the area's food banks in fighting hunger. And whereas the City of Renton has been a steadfast supporter of this vital project and has strived to eradicate hunger in the community. Now therefore, I, Dennis Law, Mayor of the City of Renton, do hereby proclaim September 21st, 2019 to be Mayor's Day of Concern for the Hungry in the City of Renton, and strongly urge all citizens to join the Emergency Feeding Program and the Salvation Army Renton Rotary Food Bank in their efforts to nourish those who are hungry. And witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Renton to be affixed the 16th day of September 2019, signed Dennis Law, Mayor of the City of Renton.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Prince,
I move the proclamation be adopted as read.
Second.
been moved and seconded that the proclamation be adopted as read. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. And we have Glenn Turner from the Emergency Feeding Program to receive the proclamation tonight.
I don't think Glenn's here.
I don't think he made it,
Okay.
so we'll get it to him later.
Okay. The next proclamation is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, September 2019. Proclamation. Whereas each year in the United States, more than 15,000 children from birth to 19 years old are diagnosed with cancer, equal to about 42 childhood cancer diagnoses each day. And whereas each year worldwide, there are more than 300,000 new childhood cancer diagnoses, which means about every 3 minutes, a family will hear the words, "Your child has cancer." And whereas although the 5-year survival rate for childhood cancers has reached 80%, nearly 2,000 American children under the age of 19 still die each year from cancer, making it the leading killer of children by disease. And whereas those that do not survive, or those that do survive, will often face at least one chronic health condition later on in life, including but not limited to heart, liver, or lung damage, infertility, secondary cancers, and growth deficits. And whereas the causes of childhood cancer are largely unknown, and more studies are needed to understand which treatments work best for children, as they often must differ from traditional adult treatments to take into account children's developmental needs and other factors. And whereas hundreds of children are being treated for cancer in Washington state, and whereas Washington is a caring state and community that supports children and families. Now therefore, I, Dennis Law, Mayor of the City of Renton, do hereby proclaim September 2019 to be Childhood Cancer Awareness Month in the City of Renton, and I encourage all citizens to join me in the special observance. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Renton to be affixed the 16th day of September 2019, signed Dennis Law, Mayor of the City of Renton.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Prince,
I move the proclamation be adopted as read.
Second.
been moved and seconded by Mr. Prince, seconded by, I think, Mr. McIrvin, if I get that right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none, motion passed. And we, in the audience, we have Olivia Gonzalez from the National Recovery, nope, wrong one, just Olivia Gonzalez to take. I think she'll have her son, who has had cancer, with her, so.
You weren't gonna get out of that easy.
Always so nervous when I do these, so I'm really sorry if I'm like shaky. This is the third time that I am accepting proclamation for Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. Thank you for reading the proclamation every year and sharing the devastating facts about childhood cancer. Back in 2004, when Antonio was diagnosed with high-risk neuroblastoma, we had no social media, no Facebook, no MySpace, nothing to help spread awareness. At our first event, I had to go from place to place to get support from the community. It was extremely hard because back then, nobody really wanted to talk about kids with cancer. I got turned away by people left and right. I didn't want that to stop me because my child's life meant so much to me, and I knew so many other kids that were dying from cancer. I stuck to my gut and just kept on fighting and trying to bring awareness. I reached out to the Seattle Times, and we made the front page of the newspaper. I will always remember my very first event, and this little girl came up to me. She was about 5 years old, and she was with her grandma, and her grandma had read our newspaper article to her. She brought me her piggy bank. She said that she just wanted to help kids with cancer. So many people stopped by that day to support us, and I felt so overwhelmed with love and support from our community. Antonio battled cancer and did treatment for over 15 months, chemotherapy, radiation, surgeries, stem cell transplant, immunotherapy treatment, just celebrated 15 years in remission just last week. I'm very grateful for nowadays, for social media, Strong Against Cancer, all these campaigns, and also to the city who has always supported us throughout the years. Like, you guys all come to our events and, bring your kids and your families, and it just means so much to me that, the fire department comes, the police department, city council, the mayor, that means so much to us, and you guys all help bring that awareness. And over the last 13 years, we've raised over $100,000 in childhood cancer research. So I just want to thank you guys so much for always supporting us. It really means a lot to us.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
Thank you for what you do for our
Yes.
city and our children and everybody else. It's a great event that you do put on, and we really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And Mr. President,
Mr. Perez.
Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry. I just wanted to add, Olivia, that congratulations to you, Antonio. I follow you, and you're doing great in school. I see you thriving and being so healthy, and not just that, you're a great student, and what a way to take advantage of life. Thank you very much.
Next resolution, proclamation, excuse me.
Okay, the final proclamation for the night is National Recovery Month, September 2018. Proclamation, whereas behavioral health is an essential part of one's overall health and wellness, and whereas prevention of mental and substance use disorders works, treatment is effective, and people recover in our area and around the nation, and whereas preventing and overcoming mental and substance use disorders is essential to achieving healthy lifestyles, both physically and emotionally, and whereas an estimated 400,000 people in King County are affected by these conditions, and whereas we must encourage relatives and friends of people with mental and/or substance use disorders to implement preventive measures, recognize the signs of a problem, and guide those in need to appropriate treatment and recovery support services, and whereas we recognize 4 dimensions of recovery from mental health and substance use disorders: health, home, purpose, and community. And whereas to help more people achieve and sustain long-term recovery, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, the White House Office of National Drug Control Policy, King County, and the City of Renton invite all residents of Renton to participate in National Recovery Month. Now therefore, I, Dennis Law, Mayor of the City of Renton, do hereby proclaim September 2019 to be National Recovery Month in the City of Renton, and I encourage all citizens to observe this month with programs, activities, and ceremonies to support this year's Recovery Month theme, Join the Voices for Recovery, invest in health, home, purpose, and community. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Renton to be affixed this 16th day of September 2019. Signed, Dennis Law, Mayor of the City of Renton.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Prince.
I move the proclamation be adopted as read.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Prince, seconded by Mr. Pavoni, that the proclamation be approved as read. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is passed, and we have Mario Williams Sweet from the Hospital and Mental Health Residential Coordinator. She's a coordinator, or he.
On the behalf of King County and the Behavioral Health Recovery Division, I'd just like to say thank you to the City of Renton for this proclamation. It means a lot as we strive to really kind of break down some of the stigmas of folks who have behavioral health conditions and continue just to fight that battle so folks really know that there's really a kind of a wealth of support and people who really want to push that work forward and, again, try to remove that stigma of behavioral health of co-occurring disorders for folks who really are suffering. So appreciate it, City of Renton. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for your work. Okay, next is administrative report.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. I have one item for you this evening. The Solid Waste Utility will hold its annual Fall Recycle event on Saturday, September 21st at the Renton Technical College North Parking Lot located at Northeast 6th Place and Monroe Avenue Northeast from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. During this event, non-perishable food items will be collected for the Renton Food Bank. For more information, including the list of acceptable and unacceptable materials, please visit the city's website at www.rentonwa.gov/fall recycle, or you can contact the Solid Waste Utility at 425-430-7398. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. Next is audience comment. We have one person signed up. Jason, you know what the program is?
Look, like always, I'm coming up here on the behalf of everybody. All right, like, am kind of running on for mayor on the right end because I just think it's wrong not to have somebody right in a right vote, right? But the basketball courts up by where the water filtration system is, that's got the hepatitis A in it. Can you guys put fences behind the basketballs so it's not like a get it boy kind of thing? All right, like we built the lunar lander here. If we cannot do a Palabra to figure out where the ball is going to bounce when you miss by an inch, you go over the fence, so you have to go around the fence to go get the ball, then we have issues, all right? It's just that is a very cheap thing to do, and the city would really like to do it. Now, I got a male officer patting down women. I don't think that should happen in spandex, considering what could they really be hiding? I can see every little muscle, whatever, right? For them to follow somebody from the Red Lion to the Mini Mart is over 7 directional changes, which is harassment, the legal definition of harassment. You can get any ticket dropped if a cop follows you for more than 7 turns before pulling you over. All right, fact. All right. So, I don't know, our license plate number is BQJ4462, and it was Trooper 174 and 185 on 1 a.m. at 8/31/19 on Saturday. And I wish that thing worked so I could put this up here, so in case this thing gets lost, it was recorded, right? But I documented it because I just don't think it's right. I think they should have to call in a female officer to pat down a female, all right? Just, we have nuts in different places than their places are, so if you're coming up the leg, right, your hand might hit something wrong. I don't want to get patted down by a female and have her not think about it and slam her hand in my shit, all right? Like, there's just physical reasons why, right? So, and then, so I had the same officer that I just talked about here because of notes, right? Try to arrest me yesterday, all right? And then I got talked to again today, right? And I never, like, do anything wrong. Sorry, I would, like, never do, right? But, Tabert, right? And that happened yesterday at 9/15/19, right? And it happened at 21:45. So anyway, Boeing's having problems with tech, right? I'm really concerned that there is a leak through this city because we build the 787s here. So we should be concerned about there being more than Americans in the city and having their footholds in police departments or in power positions could cause Boeing to get, it's like a security risk, right? Now I'm a Collins. If they're picking on a Collins who did the Irish Revolution, you're gonna know if it's 00, all right, or MI6, right? Because they're gonna pick on a Collins because they did the Irish Revolution and came up against the king, who owns DAC, right? The descendants of the Anglo-Saxon aristocratic kingdom, right? And then Airbus, which is part of that, right? So you actually have to think about these things because this is since World War II, right? I mean, like, we've all been, we know about this. The royals were with the Nazis, and Charles had to come up against them constantly in order to save his own fellow countrymen. All right, and like, read a book about it. It's really nutty. But anyway, so I'm not even a Collins. I'm a Sluzar, right? Because my dad was adopted by his mother's
Better
second.
wind it up, you're just about
Anyway,
through.
so I got issues right and left right now with cops and stuff, and I'm really just kind of concerned that somebody wrote a book or something. I don't know, but I put my name in Revelations, right?
Thank you. Next on the agenda, oh, first of all, is there anybody else that would like to make a speech under audience comment? Seeing none, let's go on to the consent agenda. There are 13 items. Does anybody want to remove any of them?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Prince?
I move that we approve the consent agenda as published.
Second?
Been moved by Mr. Prince, seconded by Mr. Corman, that we approve the consent agenda as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. Oh, opposed? Almost forgot. Motion passed. Okay, now we're on unfinished business. And Mr. McGurven,
No unfinished business, Mr. Mayor.
thank you. Ms. Perez,
Non-finished business, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Pavoni,
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Finance Committee has 2 finance reports.
Finance Committee report approval of claims and payroll vouchers. The Finance Committee approves the following payments. 1, accounts payable, total payment of $13,678,626.93 for a number of vouchers, and payroll benefit withholding vouchers, and 9 wire transfers. Payroll, total payment of $3,314,492.71 for payroll vouchers, including 1,611 direct deposits and 61 checks. This is for the July 16th through 31st payroll period and the August 1st through August 15th payroll period. Number 3 is a municipal court. It's a total payment of $14,000 for a couple of vouchers, and payment to Kidder Matthew, which is a total payment of $34,670.56 for a couple of vouchers. Copies of vouchers can be found at the city clerk's office. This is signed by the committee chair and vice chair.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Pavoni.
there were 234 pages of vouchers.
Aren't I glad I'm not on there?
We paid for our 3 weeks off, so. I move that the council concur with the Finance Committee report.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Pavoni, seconded by Mr. Prince, that the council concur with the Finance Committee report. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Motion passed.
All right, the final Finance Committee report is a fee waiver request for volunteer youth athletic program coaches. The Finance Committee recommends concurrence in the staff recommendation to approve the requested waiver of $2,307.50 in youth athletic registration fees for volunteer coaches. This again is signed by the committee chair and vice chair.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Pavoni.
so what this is it's getting tougher and tougher to get some of these coaches in these programs. So what we're doing is we're giving their children 50% off the program that they're coaching. So with that, I move that the council concur with the Finance Committee report.
Second.
Mr. Pavoni moved. Mr. Prince seconded. The Finance Committee approve. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Anything else?
That's all, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Corman.
No unfinished business, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Prince.
Yes, the committee of the whole has a couple of committee reports.
Okay, Committee of the Whole Committee report, affordable housing options. The Committee of the Whole recommends concurrence in the staff recommendation to, 1, prepare an ordinance consistent with SHB 1406 in order to begin receiving the state share of the affordable housing credit, and 2, request the administration continue exploring options for an affordable housing levy, including but not limited to a statistically valid survey, and report the findings to council in November 2019. This is signed by the council president.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Prince.
I move the council concur in the committee of the whole committee report.
Second.
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 Seconded. Moved is by Mr. Prince, seconded by Mr. Pavoni, that the council concur in the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
Okay, and the final Committee of the Whole Committee report is regarding the council seat 3 vacancy. The Committee of the Whole recommends suspending the rules and leaving council seat 3 vacated by Carol Ann Witchy vacant until such time as the general election for this position is certified. At that time, per RCW 42-1270, the person elected to that position shall take office immediately and serve the remainder of the unexpired term. Signed by the council president.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Prince.
I move the council concur with the recommendation of the committee of the whole committee report.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Prince, seconded by Mr. Corman, that the council concur in the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none, motion passed.
No further business, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Next, we have no, there is no legislation, so we have new business. Mr. McGurven,
No new business, Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Perez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On September 23rd, at 5:30, the Utilities Committee will meet at the Council Conference Room. There are 2 items in the agenda. Number 1, Downtown Utility Improvement Project, Phase 3 Amendment, and number 2, Emerging Issues in Utility. Thank you.
Mr. Pavoni.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the Finance Committee has 4 items on September 23rd at 3:30 in the council conference room. The first one is Downtown Core Streetscape Engineering Consultant Agreement, Community and Economic Development Reorganization, Transit-Oriented Development Sub-Area Plan Contract, and the fourth and final is Emerging Issues in Finance. That is all, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Mr. Corman.
No new business, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Prince.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the Planning Development Committee will be meeting in the council conference room at 4:30 p.m. We have 4 items on the agenda. Docket number 14, adoption of the 2019 school district's capital facilities plans and impact fees, multifamily property tax exemption update, and emerging issues in CED. At 6 p.m., the committee of the whole will meet in the conference center. There are 3 items on the agenda: the Renton Regional Fire Authority update, Census 2020 briefing, and emerging issues. That's all, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Anybody have anything else? Seeing none, what is the wish of the council?
Move we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed.